Welcome everyone to another episode of The Way of the Other Dragon. Today on episode 3 we discuss online schools viable or lame. And this topic is brought to you by yours truly. And we're going to have a really interesting discussion on this today because none of us actually have that much of an experience on it, but we do know how it feels like. So let's start. I'm going to just start over here with Amy, since, she has the most input in any of our podcasts. So, Amy, preliminary thoughts.
Hi. Was there a question? You were a little bit muffled. You just want me to start talking?
Yeah, of course. If you really want a question, I guess I'd frame it like, you see, there are in this age of internet, there are like millions and millions of opportunities online, and many of them being able to train online from really far. So is that really effective? Is it the same as being able to train at a dojo or a gym, or is it not? What are your thoughts on it?
There are ways to train via distance in a way that does make sense, but ultimately you have to be in contact with another body. You can't fight without hitting another body and being hit back, or grappling, especially grappling. You need that biofeedback. There are ways to do it. But I've done it a little bit with self-defense, which is different than martial arts, especially when you're talking about conceptual things. That totally works. And when it comes to the hard skills, the Omega skills, we as a group, the violence dynamics people, we as a group can post videos and ask questions and how do you do this? But then we all have our own either gyms or training partners and we go check it out. You ultimately, when it comes to physical skills, you have to physically be with a partner. But there are ways to supplement your training online that I think works and makes sense. But ultimately, you have to touch another person.
Right. So, moving on to our next speaker, Ricky Spanish. Ricky, I do know that you, I don't know if you have trained online anywhere, but I do know that you have some experience of teaching someone online or from afar. What steps do you take to make sure that whoever is learning from you is able to make the most of it?
This is Ricky Spanish speaking. In terms of that online learning, I think it's like a very complicated topic because like the people that have success with it are people that like are able to also physically do the same thing. Like for example, you can't just teach someone to box by showing them some videos and whatever. Like you also have to be able to correct them properly. So eventually it involves like, face to face, showing it to them, and then correcting as they move. And I think people have the misconception that online learning, as in 100% online, the same way somebody would by like watching a movie, is the same as like it's able to replace regular learning. Like I think if you're going to do some online learning, sure, there's certain things that you can practice on your own. Similar like with school, you can take some homework, but you still have to be able to grab all of that and then take them to a proper instructor and for them to verify everything. Otherwise, it's complicated. Like to teach somebody else online, uh, teaching a beginner is very, very hard, especially if they don't understand what they're doing, because they'll do everything wrong thinking that they're right. And they won't understand the principles because the principles of certain things is something that you feel after doing it many, many times. It's not just something that you say, move a certain way, and then you just imitate it because it doesn't work out at the end. So
Right.
I'm sort of like in agreement with Amy that yeah, it works and it's fine, but you do need to be an experienced practitioner of what you're studying in order for it to have any beneficial effect. Otherwise, you're still gonna need to go to a gym or find like a private instructor to come to your house and help you out. Like for example, let's say you can't go to a gym every day. Okay, maybe you have a private instructor come in like once a week or once a month, and then before they leave, they tell you, okay, I need you to work on this, and then every time they come in, they just work on that, making sure you're improving. Otherwise, it's just ends up being like a dance choreography. Like you can imitate dance, even if it's kind of shitty, but when it comes to combat, it's it either works or it doesn't.
Right. So,
I like
I
that
mean,
analogy.
yes, exactly what I was going to say. The analogy you put in was spot on and very well put. But still, I mean, it still rises. Still another question arises from it that you say that you ultimately have to have a trainer who will correct you on your mistakes, right? So isn't that also possible doing it online? I mean, recording yourself and then sending it to the person you're learning from, and he points out your mistakes, and like you just keep rubbing it as long as unless you get it shiny. Is it not possible to do that?
Well, that's why I pointed out the fact about like the principles are very important. Like for example, if somebody knows boxing and taekwondo, they can learn kickboxing a little bit. You know, like kinda. They can get into it because they know how to kick and they know how to punch and they know how to move. So they have plenty of principles to build up on it. But if you don't
Right.
know anything, like for example zero fighting, or you're learning I don't know kung fu, but you only know boxing, then it's gonna be a little bit more complicated, and also it might seem like you're doing it right, but then you can't actually apply it. That's why I
Right.
still believe like if somebody's teaching online, whatever, maybe you're teaching the student like the discipline, the basic exercises, the basic forms, the basic stuff, and then you have to tell them, okay, I can see you're good at this, and that. Now let me give you the number of an instructor nearby. Go with them, and then have them verify everything.
A
Otherwise,
long
it's
time,
Right.
yeah.
So the basics are
uh,
important.
a
Yeah,
long time
Amy, you were
ago,
saying
I was
something.
yeah, a long time ago, I did Chinese Kempo for far too short a period of time. I had to stop because I suffered a devastating injury that was not martial arts related, but I couldn't continue in the martial arts for a couple of years. But when I was doing that, there was a guy who earned his first few color belts via videotape. This was a long time ago. This is what we had back then. But after just a few color belts, his instructor said, "Okay, that's as far as I can take you via video. You need to actually go join a dojo now and get some actual training." And he had affiliated dojos in our area, so that wasn't a problem. Um, but but I think the instructor had enough integrity to say, "This is as far as we can get without you actually touching a human body." you need to go join an actual school.
Right. Also, we have with us Tim tonight, who isn't speaking at all. But I have a question for you too, Tim. Just like Ricky just now pointed out a lot of shortcomings of, training online or teaching online, and how you have to have basics to be able to grasp the principles of what you're learning. If you don't know anything about it, online training is, it seems it's near impossible. So, how would you modify some things so that this isn't the problem? I mean, if you have ideas on it.
If I would, at first, good evening, everybody. From here on, what? I don't got the question right.
Okay, I'll repeat it.
If I would modify a training program, do I have to train somebody, and what would I tweak to make it work? Okay.
The training program or the method of teaching, whatever you wish, whatever you want to change, how would you change it so that it becomes more viable?
The only real viable thing is live video. I think you can at least say, okay, this motion is right or wrong, and correct the different parts of the motion, like the straight punch. The student raises his shoulder. You see that live video, and you can say, okay, lower your shoulder, don't raise your shoulder while punching. That would be a thing. Yeah, Amy?
Can I jump in real quick, and then I'll bring it back to you, Tim, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so a few months ago, one of my senseis, Eric Sensei, almost moved out of state. And this was going to cause huge problems for me because he teaches me 2 to 3 days a week. And I was going to lose that. And so we were talking about how to keep training via distance. And we were going to do live video like you just said, Tim, where we would do it via video chat, and he could give me further training and corrections based on what he could see. And then I still would train at least 1 day a week with Joe Sensei, and so he could pressure test me and give me that physical feedback that I need. And they're both my Okonon Kempo teachers, and they're both wonderful, but they're not interchangeable teachers. And I was really trying to make this point to both of them, really. So one of the things I was going to do was go travel out to wherever Eric Sensei was going to move to, and go out there for a couple of days and train with him. Come back, we would do the video chats. I would also be with Joe Sensei, and then once every couple months go be with Eric Sensei. I'm going to throw this back to you, Tim, because you're kind of doing that, aren't you? I mean, not the video thing, but aren't you doing grappling via distance, and you're traveling like once every 6 weeks or something?
Yeah. My father and my brother and me, we are going to, or once a month we're going to a town 2.5 hours away to visit our jiu-jitsu trainer. So we have at least one time in a month of actual corrections for our stuff we are doing.
So it seems to me that's the best way to do it. If you're stuck in the middle of nowhere or in a town, because I live in Idaho and I have friends in Nevada. If you're stuck in a town that doesn't have a teacher of a style that you want, or doesn't have any teachers at all, it seems to me that traveling as often as you can, once a month, once every couple months, whatever, to get that physical contact and to get that feedback and those corrections. It seems to me that's really the only viable way to do distance training.
Yeah, there's one thing we tested at work. The Australian physiotherapy is very far ahead in doing live video training for the patients or the clients. And we had a 6 weeks pilot test in Germany, and we didn't, or we drive to the patient's home and we treat them there, showing them exercises and everything. And we tried to do this via a Skype chat with live video feedback. And simple exercises like squats, like push-ups and so on, that worked fine. But if you try to correct the alignment of the person, it got very, very difficult because a lot of people don't have that body awareness. When you say to them, move your shoulders that way, and they just don't understand what you want them to do. So you have to, the best thing would be there and physically correct them or show them the way to move. And that's the big problem in video training or online training.
That's a really good analogy too. I like that. And good experience.
Yeah, so all of this explains the disadvantages of training someone online. But right now we're talking about how, as an individual, you're going to train another individual at a distance on video, on live video, or by sending videos, whatever. But this is not the only kind of online training that exists. There are also many, DVDs or YouTube videos that teach people, and all the techniques or whatever they teach is generalized. So I just want to ask this to you, Amy, because you have probably the most experience on it. How does a generalized form of online training differ from some individual training another individual specialist?
I don't know if I have the most experience on this. Most of the online training that I have is self-defense, which is different than martial arts. And we're not trying to achieve rank. It's mostly us talking about principle and maybe showing a few techniques, and then, okay, everybody go to your school or grab whatever training partner and try this out. There's a couple of DVDs that kind of show that I have that show grappling and infighting, but he even says in the beginning of the DVD, this does not replace actual instruction, actually doing this with a partner. It's just getting principles, getting ideas, maybe seeing things you haven't seen before, and then you need to go out and apply it. The things that do work well, again, self-defense versus martial arts, is the soft skills, the alpha skills, the first skills, the situational awareness, and things like that. That you can read about and go apply it really easily. That you can talk about in discussions, forums, and things, and then go apply that really easily. But when it comes to the actual fighting, you really need to have another person. And going away from self-defense to martial arts, where you're trying to achieve rank, I don't see how you can do that without physically touching another person, without getting that feedback from them, without applying these techniques to them, and seeing what works and doesn't work for yourself. Does that answer the question?
Right. Yeah, it surely does. But I'm still gonna ask the same thing to Ricky, and I'll also repeat myself again. So bear with me. Ricky, my question is that if you're teaching someone online and you're you're literally holding their hand and trying to teach them a technique. I feel as if it's different from when somebody just makes a generalized video of how to do a punch and uploads it on YouTube for everyone to see and learn from it. So, I mean, what would be the advantages or disadvantages between both of these?
You're asking about the advantages of online like learning.
No, not quite. I'm not asking about advantages of learning online. I'm asking you to point out the differences which would be occurring if you're, for example, suppose
Okay,
you
so the question is the difference between somebody just going online looking at random videos and
yes,
somebody
somebody just
actually having
learning
an
it from their
instructor
own
that
and
does the
some
same thing.
yes, exactly.
Okay, so I mean, like I said, it's still technically rudimentary and very basic. There's only so much you can get in terms of complexity without, being able to correct someone like face to face. So whoever's doing it has to be aware that just because they're like master grade doesn't mean they can actually teach master grade online. There's only so much. Um, the advantages would be like, for example, if somebody looks up something online, they could find videos of, let's say, different types of boxing from different types of instructors and try to do everything, and then at the end up with like just a broad set of a general basic workout routine. It's just Zumba with punches. But if you find an instructor that has his own style, his own methodology of how he thinks it should be done, at least he can tell you like, okay, we're gonna do this. I need you to reach this proficiency and in this specific manner. And then from there, you can take it like by going to a physical location and then take it from there. Like some people focus on power, others focus on speed, others just have regional styles. Like Mexican boxing style is said to be quite different than the basic American style. So, you know, there's those type of stuff. Like if you just look at online and you see a Mexican boxer and you're like, oh, that looks cool because he's fancy and everything. But then everywhere else, all of your gyms around are just American style. It's not gonna help much because you can't train the style that you're looking up online. So at the end, it's just gonna be a waste of time. It might be a good workout, but in terms of actually reaching like martial proficiency, it's just playing around. And then if you
Right.
get an actual trainer that knows like, okay, you want to reach, you have this goal, and I also am able to help you get there, then they can guide you like in a specific way. Like, okay, do things this way, do your workout this way. Maybe work on your diet if you're gonna be like an athlete, like a fighter. And then when you get to a point when they're like, okay, now you're good enough for me to not teach you online, let me tell you where to go so you can continue the exact same training but at a more advanced level. Otherwise, like, how are you going to know that you're ready? You're actually progressing if you don't have somebody double checking everything.
Right. So, I mean, that was well put, and it clearly, shows us where to draw the line. But still, I mean, some people, including me, also think that if I'm looking at videos online and I have some basic knowledge, I might also be able to filter for myself what I'm able to learn and what works for me or not. Um, Having a trainer, how would it differ then? I mean, if the trainer, if I have a trainer, it's the trainer who's deciding for me what I do. But if I do it myself, uh, isn't it that I know my strengths and weaknesses the most?
Well, it's my
Can I?
opinion that like the student knows something that they want, but the instructor is the one that knows how to get there. So even if the student is well proficient on everything, the student is still a student because he doesn't know how to do it, even if he has an idea. And the job of the instructor is to know what the student wants and help guide them. At a certain point, you get a bad teacher that's not good enough, but he'll be good enough when he says, okay, here's a better instructor, go talk to them. But if you have a really bad student that keeps thinking, I know what I'm doing, I know how to get better, I know everything without like the proper, let's say, experience, then that student isn't really going to get very far and it's just going to keep improving on looking good. But like when they actually get into the application, they get punched in the face and all of a sudden turns out though that doesn't really work for anything.
Can I speak to this?
Okay.
This is something I've actually gone through just in the last couple of days. When I was in Violence Dynamics DC, God, I don't know how much background you need on this. There's something that we do. Yeah, I'll go back to the beginning so you can understand this. We do what's called operant conditioning, and that's a stimulus comes in and you have an automatic response because it takes your brain a second or two to form a thought, to understand what's coming in, and to think of a counter attack. You can get caught in an OODA loop where the punches or whatever attack keeps coming in too quickly, and you can never get to that decision phase to do it. So we do operant conditioning where we're basically training a flinch response. And there's two basic ones that we teach. One is called Dracula's Cape, and the other is a wedge. And when I first started doing this a year and a half ago, you're supposed to choose one or the other, and I chose Dracula's Cape as mine because I'm short, and that's a really good short person technique. And I've been doing this for a long time. And then at DC, I decided just for fun, let's switch to the other one, to the wedge. And initially, I thought that worked better for me. Right after I changed this. I mean, within minutes of changing this, one of the instructors and I went off to have a private lesson, and we started with the wedge, and then going into something else. And because I had just learned it, I wasn't doing it very well. I was also adrenalized. I was having some really bad problems that morning. The lesson didn't go very well, unfortunately. So he said, okay, I want you to go home and practice this with your senseis, and then when we're together again in October, we'll keep going from there. So then Thursday night, I'm with my senseis, and we decided to work on this. And they kind of decided that the wedge wasn't working for me very well, and maybe I should go back to the Dracula's Cape. And I was like, this is causing problems because Casey, the violence dynamics instructor, and I were working on the wedge. So I messaged Casey and I said, hey, this is what's going on. I'm having a little bit of difference between what we were doing in DC and what my teachers want me to do. And he wrote back, you're forging your own sword. You do what you feel best. You don't do what I tell you. You don't do what your teachers tell you. You do what you feel best, and we'll all work with you. And that was awesome. And so I told my teachers this. This is what Casey told me. Just, do what I feel is best. Choose what I think is best. And they were like, that's awesome. We are all on the same page. So having everybody, all my teachers, I guess, trust me, resolved that conflict really fast. So that, I think there is a point for the teachers to say, okay, the student knows best. You know what's best for your body. And Casey was even saying, your body, your injuries, your size, your experiences, you know better than any of us because we're not you. So there is a point in which I think the instructor does need to trust the student. You know what's best for you, but you've asked us for this help in getting to this place. that's our job, is to be your guide to help you get this place. But ultimately, this is you're forging your own sword. It's exactly how Casey put it. You're forging your own sword. That's it.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, that was really profound, so it had me stumped for a while. Okay, so I seriously don't know what else to add to it because I mean, it pretty much answers everything I had in mind. So that was really great. Ricky, anything to add to that?
Yeah, actually. I was thinking of this example of like, when you guys were asking like for example, when you join like the military, you can like, do pull-ups, push-ups, run, and all that stuff before. Maybe go to the range with like your dad or whatever and shoot and be very good at that. Be able to run like a 5-minute mile like it's nothing. Do all of that stuff, learn a little survival, and that's great, and it works, and it might make you a good soldier, but you're still not a soldier. Like once you join and get the shit beaten out of you for a few months, and then they decide to accept you because mentally and physically you're good enough, and then you get put in the field and shit happens, then you can say you're a soldier. But before that, you're just kind of like just a fan of soldiers. You're just kind of doing the workout, and that's kind of how I feel with the online training. Like as a martial artist, you go to a gym, you throw it down, you get an instructor, and then he says, "Okay, you're cool. Thank you for the money. Come back and let's keep working on it." But while you're doing it online, it's more like you're like a fan of martial arts, and you're like, "Oh, I saw that Jackie Chan movie and it's badass. I want to do that." And now I'm doing push-ups and sit-ups and some other weird exercise that looks like it came out of like a Chinese movie. And then you get an instructor online that you haven't seen, but he's like, "Okay, you don't know shit, so let's start from zero and teach you how to work on that." And then you're still a fan of martial arts until you actually meet the instructor, whichever it is, face to face, and start training there. And so you're able to apply the little bit that you know and then grow it from there. That's how I feel with the online training. Like it's not bad, but it's bad if you think that only the online training makes you a martial artist.
Yeah, like these advertisements. Get your black belt in 6-month online training. Only
Oh God.
Yeah,
We
like
have
there's a lot of those that like for example me, I've seen and I met a couple guys that are like, "Oh, I was special forces and blah blah blah, and I can teach you how to blah 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 online, or take this 2-day course and you'll be a killing machine." And it's like, dude, I mean, it's cool tricks, but you're not making soldiers. That's just a fan of the thing, and you're taking advantage, and you're literally doing the same thing as like Jackie Chan does on the movies, but with a lot less effort.
Okay, so this brought a question to my mind, which I really have to ask. Um, we've been talking about online training for a while now, and what exactly, I mean, does online training really mean? I mean, I'm asking this because consider this: if you're training online, or like as I said, if you're training by watching videos on YouTube or some other site, usually I mean, the way I try to watch is videos of different seminars by different masters. So I'm actually watching the whole thing. I mean, whoever attended the seminar uh, just did the exact same thing what I'm doing, from the comfort of my home. So I always find that seminars are kind of like an online training because they'll just show you a generalized technique and that's it. They don't refine it for you. So, uh, I mean, yeah, that's my question. So, like, is the seminar different from an online training, and is it better just because you can attend one, or is it the same?
I personally believe it depends on the seminar. It depends on the person. There's some really good martial artists who just do seminars because, I mean, let's face it, running a school is not exactly cheap, but a seminar is a little bit more viable. It gives them a little bit more freedom and they can have a regular job. And if they're really good at it, they can have like a really long seminar and talk to, like, for example, if they know karate, they can talk to other practitioners of it and they can understand each other better. There's other seminars where it genuinely feels like the person is just kind of taking advantage of the people, knowing that it's only going to be a short time and they're going to believe whatever I say because of the story being so cool. So, yeah, like it depends on who's teaching the seminar and all of those details. That seems more like a case by case basis.
Right. Um, okay, before you said something, Tim was going to say something, I think.
Yeah,
I think
Tim,
Yeah,
what do you think
seminars.
about it?
Oh,
I like
I
the analogy you did with the seminars or the comparison. We have in German Karate Association we have the head trainer or yeah, the German word is Bundestrainer, so the highest trainer of the art in our country, and we invited him. Well, we invite him every year once for a seminar, and we have 300, 350 people at once training together.
wow.
Yeah, it is an interesting group dynamic, but you're not taking much from the seminar in terms of learning something new. It's a great come together, but I feel it's kind of similar to online training. You do something in a room full of people, but mainly you're alone doing your thing, trying to copy what you can spot from far away. Um, the outcome is for me on the same level if you're watching the seminar online or doing the seminar with that amount of people. If you have a seminar for 20 or 30 people, I would really prefer to be physically there instead of watching that. If that makes any sense.
Would you agree that it seems like people of lower proficiency, for example, a white belt, would actually, well, maybe not a white belt, but still somebody of lower proficiency would get something more out of a seminar than somebody that's already fully proficient, like a third, fourth degree black belt?
Depends on the seminar. If I I'm giving seminars mostly for color belts. They learn more focused on one topic during the seminars. Online, they wouldn't have this physical feedback. So, in my opinion, the seminar is, what's the right word for it? Gaining something. Yeah.
Um, hmm. Hold up. Let's get our translator.
They profit. The profit. They profit more from a physical seminar than a video lesson.
Oh yeah, they gain something more from physically being there than just online.
Yeah.
What about you, Amy? You've been to a couple seminars, right?
Yeah, I go to a lot of seminars, or quite a few, and the violence dynamics ones, those are principles based, because you have a lot of martial artists of all different styles in the same room, and we don't have the same needs. This last seminar in DC was at a Krav Maga school, so there were all these Krav people there, and most of us who were visiting were soft stylists. Myself, Aikido, Tai Chi, and Jiu-Jitsu. There were other people there who, a lot of grapplers, another guy who did Tai Chi, several people who do Jiu-Jitsu, and so we just have completely different needs. So there's no way you can teach the same techniques to us. They would teach principles that we can then take to our own classes and make us better, make whatever we're doing better. So if you're going to teach a seminar, I think that's the way to do it. Teach principles rather than technique. Any technique is just a vehicle to teaching the principle. The other kind of seminars that I do frequently is I do some weapons seminars. And there's another Okinawan Kobudo sensei of my acquaintance, and I like going to his seminars. It's really informational. He and I have some shared lineage and some different lineage. So for me, that's mostly what I want to get out of it. I want to understand my own lineage better and where it's the same and different from other people's. And he teaches us a kata in a couple of hours, and there's no way I can retain that kata. When I see him, I'll ask to follow him as he does the kata. When I see him outside the seminars, we'll do some training like that. But you guys saw my list of kata that I'm currently learning. 33 kata. I think 3 of those are his, and there's no way I can retain that kata. What he does for people, this really goes into our discussion here. What he does for people who go to his seminars regularly and can keep up with the kata, he's actually going to test them in the fall and give them rank. And he's doing this via video. There's no way you can attend the seminar and pick up the kata and do it perfectly. That's not possible. So he's doing it via video, via live chat. And then when we get together, he does the seminars quarterly. Then he has that physical contact with them, and he can make the physical corrections. And he says he thinks this is going so well that he's actually going to do tests in the fall and hand out rank. I'm not going for rank in his system. I have too many already. But I think that's cool that he's doing that. And I think that really dovetails well to what we're doing, to what we're talking about here.
So from what you guys are saying, it seems like in a seminar situation, it's preferable to teach like the principles of the systems, the basics, what they call the foundational aspects of it, rather than advanced techniques and all that fancy stuff, because at least that way something is learned and can be applied in a more broad aspect, right?
Well, the basics
Yeah,
are the
right.
advanced techniques, and the advanced techniques are the basics. It's that old thing. So if you're teaching principles, you're teaching to everyone. And if I can take the floor for just one more minute, I actually have a really good story, and then I'll be quiet for a moment so somebody else can speak. But one of my Aikido senseis has a story of a seminar that he went to that was taught by Christian Tissier, who's this, he does Aikido in France, really big, famous Aikido guy, especially in France, and he came here to the United States, and I can't remember if there was 350 people like Tim was saying, but there was a lot of people there. And he was trying to demonstrate a rotary throw, and he had picked a black belt to be his uke for it. and the guy just was not really falling well, and it was really awkward, and he wasn't able to do the demonstration the way he wanted to because the uke wasn't really doing what he was supposed to do. So he tells the guy to sit down, and he goes down the line, and as my sensei puts it, he finds the whitest white belt he could find. This guy just started doing Aikido 3 weeks ago. He wasn't even wearing a gi. He was just wearing sweatpants. That's how new he was. And so he asked the guy to come up to be the uke, and he throws him in a rotary throw. This guy has never done it before in his life. He's probably never even seen it before that day. And the guy does a perfect, absolutely perfect fall on this pretty high level throw. And so he asked the guy to sit down, and then Tissue says through his translator, because he doesn't speak English, he said the reason that it worked on him, the white belt, who wasn't even wearing a white belt, he was so new, and not him, the black belt, is because he, the white belt, is not. And then he and his translator went back and forth about what word they should use, and then finally the translator said corrupted. So that was a good lesson for everyone, that for both the lower rank belts that were there, don't get corrupted, don't anticipate what you think you're supposed to do, and for the higher rank people, that was a good lesson for, well, this is how we do it in my dojo, and now you can't make the transition to doing it the way somebody else does it, because you're anticipating and you think you know and you don't know. And one of the main things for being a good uke is pretend you don't know what's coming, because a lot of times that gives both you better feedback so you can do something different, and it also gives the nagi, the person doing the technique, better feedback, because you're not just handing it to them, you're making them do the actual technique. So I thought that was a good lesson for both higher ranks and lower ranks that were there at that seminar.
That is quite interesting. What about
Was that
you,
a good
Tim?
story?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Tim?
What about Mr.
Yeah.
Eden? Anything to add in the particular topic?
Everything was said, I think, to that topic.
All right, so we'll put little quote marks around what Miss Amy said, and then a little dash, and put Tim's name afterwards.
Agreed. So,
Yeah, go
there
ahead.
was the question of seminars preferred over regular classes. I would say I prefer participating in regular classes, but I prefer teaching seminars. Because, like Amy said, on seminars I can teach more principle-based, and it doesn't matter for which level the people are, they all can take something away from that. I can show the principle on a simple front punch, I can throw this principle on the throw. So every level gets something nice to play with. But for me, for learning, I like the regular classes much more, because I have time to put in time to train with a partner. That's something I don't get when I teach that much.
Yeah. What about Amy? Seminar over regular classes, or still prefer regular classes?
Oh yeah, heck no. I still prefer regular classes. Nothing beats regular classes. Seminars are great to learn something additional. It's great for especially bringing something back to your own school, and adding additional information to your own practice. But you need that regular training. If you can't have that regular training, then I think seminars are great. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and there just isn't a school around you, and that's the best you can do, then that's terrific. But ultimately, you need hands-on another body on a very regular basis, and you need hands on your body on a very regular basis.
One second, please.
Yeah, is Robert joining us?
Yeah, I'm here, guys.
Yay!
Hi, Robert.
Right.
Sorry I'm late again. How's it going?
Hey,
Good,
Robert,
how are you?
what's up?
Everything's good, Robert. How about we do this? We're gonna cut all of this audio up into where I ask Robert what he thinks, and then we continue it from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now to catch you up, Robert, we're basically talking about specifically now. We're on speaking about like your opinion on seminars, and then just overall general opinion, like whether you like them, what do you think of them, and whether you feel they're helpful or not. Just general.
Okay, yeah.
We've just kind of talking about alternatives to regular training if somebody can't, and maybe using some of these alternatives as in addition to what you're already doing, such as online videos, and now we're on to seminars. Oh, and video chat. We did video chat as well.
Seminars. Let's see. I've been to 3 or 4 different seminars, and they were about Wing Chun, so they were kind of more supplementary than going in a different direction. Or it's all stuff I've already trained, but the seminars I've been to were really, really good. I got to be exposed to a lot of different people. At the seminars I went to, we got to touch hands with probably 50, 60 different people. And it was really interesting to always get to feel the different energies. You have some people who are really hard and force on force. You have other people who more absorb your energy, stuff like that. And so that's always been really interesting. Learning from, in my case, the seminars were always led, well, not always, but in 3 of them were led by Sifu Samuel Kwok, and he's basically the head of my lineage. Well, it's Ip Man lineage, but he's the head of my side of the lineage. Anyway, he's really incredible. Like if you get to work with him for even minutes, you learn like weeks at a time worth of stuff. It's really crazy. But as far as like a person who doesn't have a school and is just going to seminars to try and learn, I think they can learn some things, but it does not make up for regular training. You need to have a constant teacher who's working with you on a constant basis. You can't just bounce around from seminars and expect to have a very solid foundation. I don't know if that's what you guys were talking about.
That's.
So yeah, that's.
We'll be editing that part out. Thank you.
What?
Ideally, we don't want people to know that you just came in and have no idea what's going on.
Don't give me that much cutting work, please.
No, but so like, are you guys talking about? Are you talking about like people who are currently in a classroom? Because I know you guys were talking about people doing online training and stuff, and so I wondered if it was people who are already in a classroom or people who don't have a school but go to seminars to try and learn. What more are you focusing on?
It started off as like whether or not online training is legitimate and in what way. Then moved on slowly into seminars, and then the final is like, would you prefer a seminar over your regular school? And well, I mean, obviously, no, but yeah.
So I think the transition took place when I asked, when I said that I felt as if seminars and online, watching videos online seem kind of similar to me. But yeah, they explained it very well on how it's different and how it's similar.
Well, let me just give my minute or two on online training because it's something I've thought about quite a bit as various people have posted it. Because, you
Sure,
get
go
that a
ahead.
lot in our Wing Chun groups. People say, hey, I live in Zimbabwe and I don't have any, there's no Wing Chun Sifus around. Can I learn from videos? My opinion on, a lot of people say, absolutely not. Don't waste your time. I'm a little torn. I think that you can start by, at least in Wing Chun, I don't know about other forms, you can start by learning the form, at least the Silam Tao, which is the first form of Wing Chun. You can start by at least memorizing the basic actions, which at least starts you somewhere. But eventually, before you move on beyond that, you have to have hands-on touch response, or else you're just going to be sitting there. And even doing the form, even if it helps to learn the basic shapes that you're doing, but then you have to have a Sifu who is going to tell you, oh, your tonsao is, it needs to be right on center. It's not. Your elbow's too far out. It needs to be more in. And all those little things aren't just about the form itself, because the form actually is kind of like the alphabet of Wing Chun, where if your elbow is too far out, the technique does not work the same, and there are practical reasons why, stuff like that. And so you can start by learning the basic motions, and then once you do have a Sifu, he doesn't have to go through and teach you what a Tan Sao is, what a Bong Sao is. He can just kind of correct it a little bit. But no, you can't do online training and expect to be able to fight without having any sort of resistance or a person reacting to your movements, or especially a Sifu or sensei or whatever teaching you the little intricacies of it, because the devil's in the details with martial arts, 100%, in my opinion.
In other words, you can learn how to fight without actually fighting.
No, and I don't think you can. There are people even within the Wing Chun community who go, "Oh, you don't have to spar, you don't have to have any resistance. You just have to do Chi Sao and know the forms and do drills." And I disagree. I think as soon as a real live punch is coming in your face, like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until you get hit in the face. I mean, the second you get hit in the face, if you've never been hit in the face, I mean, it's just not, instantly you're going to be like, all that you thought you knew how to do is just going to be gone, and you're going to be scared. And I don't know. I just don't think that online training can lead ultimately to a martial artist, but it can be a beginning point, and it isn't a complete waste of time.
Very cool.
Very, very cool.
I think you said that very well. I want to say one thing about seminars. A thought I had earlier about bringing new ideas in. And again, being here in Idaho in the middle of nowhere, we don't have, in Aikido, we don't have a lot of high-ranking black belts, and my senseis want to move up. They want to get promoted. And the way for them to do that is to go to a certain number of seminars. They have to have a certain number of teaching days and a certain number of seminar days to be eligible to test for their next rank. And so one of them in particular, Alejandro Sensei, is going to seminars very frequently, and he's learning these new concepts. And and doing Aikido with really high level black belts, which is very different and really awesome because I've been able to train with a few, and then bringing that back to us into our dojo, and improving us. So I think that's one really big value that seminars do have. But as we're all agreeing with, it's not a substitution for regular training. It's an addition to.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, like the seminars I've gone to where other people from my school didn't come, I was able to come back and share, not teach them because I'm not qualified to teach them, but at least share some of the ideas that I picked up. And yeah, I think seminars are really good on a personal level and can, if your school is open to changes, like it sounds like yours are, then it can be really good to go and get extra info. Kind of like when I went out to Texas and trained with those guys, it really presented whole new ideas than what I was used to in my normal training. And it's something I definitely can take to my school and say, hey, here's some things that I picked up from those people, because, every martial artist interprets concepts, principles, and the art differently, and everyone has something to teach you if you're open to it, instead of just being in a position of, I know what I'm talking about and you don't. You just got to be open-minded and receive what they have, and I think as long as you do that, seminars, you get a chance to share and learn from a lot of different people.
Yeah, and meeting the other people is really valuable. In Violence Dynamics, we call ourselves the Vio Tribe. We're a tribe, and keeping up these relationships online between the seminars, between the conferences, is super valuable.
This bio tribe you speak of, is this a gang?
Kinda, yeah.
Oh, cool.
You definitely wouldn't want to mess with them, I can tell you that.
Anybody else want to bring up like maybe a short topic or something that's coming to mind?
You kind of cut what you said.
Oh, sorry, I have a terrible signal. Check. Everything good now?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear you.
Okay, so I
good
was
on my
saying,
side.
and anybody want to bring up like a short topic or anything else? Any?
I'd like to touch on visualization training, because we mainly spoke about training from something you can see or watch, so like online training, video training, and so on. So you take a visual. God, I hate my.
We start this episode on Naruto today. The visualization training.
Yeah, the visualization training is far more interesting, because just watching a video to learn the technique, you engage your mirror neurons to figure out how the motion is done. And in visualization training, you engage the same neurons, and you embed the motion in your brain. This is pretty interesting from a neurological side.
Yeah, this is something
Sorry.
that. Oh, were you done, or can I?
Yeah, I was done.
I was gonna
Okay.
ask about this visualization training. Like, what specifics did you mean? Like, for example, like in my opinion, what you're describing is like, to me, is regular training. It's just part of the regular training, like it's mandatory part of the basics. So how is that different than what's expected of like a normal basic school?
It's not mandatory, but it's a great supplement when you're on the train riding for a couple of hours or something, or sitting in the bus, you can close your eyes and move through some kata or do some kata bunkai in your mind. You
Okay, I was
actually
thinking more like
engaging
shadow boxing.
shadow boxing. Ah,
Yeah, that's what I was
I don't
thinking.
know. I don't know what the visualization is, but I think, my Shifu, he tells me to do this is imagine fighting a single opponent. Now, do whatever you need to do to take him down. Next, imagine fighting two at the same time, then three at the same time. And if you do this, many times, your perception and you know your perception about your surroundings uh, it improves. Is that what visualization is?
yeah.
Let me interject real quick. There was a really interesting study I read, read about, and basically what they did is they sat people down, they hooked electrodes up to their brain, and they had them look at a red ball, and they saw what parts of their brain lit up, and then they had the person close their eyes and picture that red ball. And when they closed their eyes and pictured it, the same parts of the brain light up. And so what Tim was saying made me think of that, because whether you are looking at a red ball or picturing a red ball, to your brain, it's the same. And so if you're sitting there in your mind doing the forms or kata or whatever, it's definitely activating the parts of your brain that, like he was saying, on a neurological level, as if you were doing it. I mean, obviously you don't have the muscles moving and whatnot, but it definitely does train your brain in a way. And I'm not sure how that translates to actual movement, but I do it all the time. I sit there when I'm on an airplane or on a train or whatever, or even just sitting there getting a massage or something. I will sit there and do the forms in my brain.
That's quite interesting. Anybody else? Oh, how about Amy?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I do the visualizations too. Not as much as I should. It's something that I really should do when I've been sick, and I did a lot when I was injured, and I had the energy to train, and I just really couldn't train the way I wanted to. I would use a lot of visualization. But this is something that I should have done the last time I was sick. I don't get sick very often, but I mean, you guys remember I had that cold from hell. I was sick for a really long time, and I think Eric Sensei was teaching me a kata, and I wasn't practicing, and it showed. And he said, I would ask you if you did this in your head, but I can tell by how crappy it was that you didn't. And I said I was sick. My brain just couldn't think. And he said, well, I would accept that from anybody other than you, but your brain never stops thinking. So as long as you're thinking, you can think about kata. And I was like, yes, sensei. But my Tai Chi teacher also wants us to do this. And one thing he wants to do is not only do the visualization in our brain, but change camera angles. When you are doing the visualization, are you seeing the kata and or the opponent from your point of view? If so, then switch camera angles. Do it from an outside point of view. Now you're watching yourself do the kata. Now you're watching yourself fight the other person. And that will change you. And you'll see things that you didn't see before. And then change camera angles again. If you were off to the side, now do an overhead camera angle. Watch yourself from above. And these will help you see things and help you feel things that you didn't do before. This is something I honestly don't do often enough. But these are things that I do sometimes, and my teachers are teaching it. Not only my Okinawan Kempo teachers, but also my Tai Chi Sifu wants us to do this as well. Have you guys ever done that? Have you, Robert or Tim, ever changed camera angles?
I've
I
never done that.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it weird
interesting.
that I always imagine myself seeing from someone else's eyes whenever I'm doing a quan or something?
So you do it, Tapa?
I mean, not change, but I've never actually, I mean, seen from my perspective on how I'd look like when I'm doing a quan. I always see it as someone else watching me do a quan whenever I try to visualize.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I've never done that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to try it. That's very
I
interesting.
mean, that's what I did naturally. I didn't actually try it. I just did it. I thought that was normal. I didn't know there were so many variations to it.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful and very unique and also very brave because I don't think I could do it. Like watching myself get my butt kicked from all different angles, it's embarrassing enough.
I'm gonna have to try that. Because whenever I video myself, like literally from a different angle and stuff like that, it always amazes me what I see. So maybe if I picture it in my mind, I would notice different stuff. That is an interesting idea.
I still think that in that respect, video is better because whenever I visualize myself, I look super awesome. And then I shoot a video of myself, I'm like, oh god, I'm terrible.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the sound effects in my head totally. Yeah.
yeah, we're awesome in our own heads. But I don't know, maybe doing a combination of the two, visualizing it and then shooting a video and then making the two try to harmonize, that would actually do a lot. In fact, actually one of my senseis did do that for me. He had me do a kata. It was Naihachi Nidan, and he videotaped like me just from the waist down. And I thought I was getting my stances pretty good, and I was visualizing as he was shooting it. What was he saying? Yeah, I look great. My stances are great. And then he showed me the video. I'm like, oh god, my stances are not stable. This looks really bad, and that really forced me to try to feel better what I was actually doing and make those corrections. And I think I did make a big leap at that moment in being able to correct my own structure better.
I think, not to change topic or anything, but I do believe that videoing yourself is very important. Every time I've watched a video of myself doing form or light sparring or anything, I feel like I really saw things that I never would have seen if I hadn't watched that video. And so that's one of those things I've really been wanting to add more to my training is videoing myself, because it's just every time I watch them, it's just exactly what you said. I'll think, oh yeah, my footwork was good, my hands were good, everything was good, and then I watch it and I'm like, I look like a sloppy mess.
It's so humbling.
It really is.
It kind of brings it all full circle. We started with whether or not online training was good, and now we kind of understand what's the purpose of online training. Video each other, correct, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is poetic.
This is beautiful put, yeah.
I'm
So
sorry, what was that?
You put it beautiful.
Yeah, so the
This-
question then becomes, like, maybe in this day and age where it's so easy to film each other or ourselves and share it with each other, like, we should be doing it more. And definitely I think it's important that we are offer constructive criticism instead of just criticizing a person for what they're doing. I mean, all of us are at different levels. All of us are doing different arts. But I think really if we could have a forum or an area where we feel free to film ourselves, share it, watch it ourselves, and then have other people offer their constructive ideas or criticisms, that would be really beneficial to everybody. And that's something I constantly wish was more readily available.
Oh,
Robert,
you're
can
talking
I
about
just say-
just martial arts, right?
Yeah, martial arts in
I
general.
was thinking about a different type of filming myself.
Well, whatever you want to do. But you're going to get criticism.
Started off as, yeah, go ahead. I'm just interrupting.
No, go ahead, Tapa.
I was just going to say that we literally started off as how online training is not as much beneficial as some people think, and we actually discover how it would be a lot more beneficial if we just know how to use it. So, like, the earth is round. Take that, flat earther. Check me.
I just think that even if all this stuff we're talking about of, filming ourselves and other people criticizing it and us criticizing ourselves, I think ultimately you do have to have a core training that has hands-on. So they supplement, each other. I think we shouldn't discount online or video training.
Robert, can I just say that your wife's camera work is awesome?
Yeah, that video was really cool. All I told her, I just said, all I said is I want you to film me doing the Silam Tao so I can see what's going
What?
Do we lose him?
Oh no, I think he cut out a little bit.
Oh no.
Robert,
I
are
don't
you
see
there?
him.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, all I was saying is that, yeah, it ended up, I just wanted to see my form, and she ended up walking around everywhere, and it turned into a pretty cool, the camera work was more impressive than anything, and yeah.
Also, Ricky, I know that you said the same thing, but I just felt like the episode wouldn't be complete without one of my crappy jokes.
Oh, I did. Oh, and I guess I didn't notice. Thank you, Tapa. Anybody else
So are
got
you
any
winding down?
a little final thoughts you guys want to add in? Maybe talk about those fast food restaurant style gyms.
Oh, I was just gonna bring up. Earlier today, I was talking with my sensei about McDojos and what to do about them in anticipation of that coming up in the podcast. And he said that in his opinion, the best thing to do with McDojos is to befriend them and to train with them and let them gently see what really good martial arts is. He says don't go in there and tell them that they're doing everything wrong and tell them how horrible they are. Don't fight with them because there's the boomerang effect where if somebody has a deeply held belief and you attack that belief, even if you're right, you're going to cause them to hold on to that belief even more strongly. So he said, just be nice to them, befriend them, train with them, and they'll start to see what really good martial arts really is, and that way everybody benefits. They'll benefit from. He doesn't want people going in feeling all superior and stuff. Go in humbly and befriend them, train with them, be a nice person, let them gently see it, and we all benefit from that.
My question to you guys is, have any of you ever experienced a McDojo where you left and you were like, that place was just bunk and they don't know what the hell they're doing?
I have.
Me too.
Yep.
And so
I haven't-
what were the? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I was just gonna say I haven't, but my first school just wasn't right for me. They weren't a McDojo; it was a tournament factory, and that's just not where my interest lies. And it wasn't a McDojo though; it was just a mismatch.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, that can easily happen. But so, with those of you who have been in a McDojo, what were the signs? What was the turning point where you realized I need to never go back?
No, I actually knew I was going to a McDojo.
So you went knowing that it was a McDojo,
I did that on purpose, yes.
and what was your
Years
intention?
Years ago, we had a brown belt at our school, and he wanted to test for a new grade, and my father said, no, you're not ready yet. Wait another year, maybe. And he left, and years later, he came up with 3 different made-up arts he made up himself, and he, at the moment, has 24 downgrades at total.
That's quite impressive.
Yeah, so I went there to find out how cool this guy turned out, and that was a real mess.
So what ended up happening when you showed up? Did you show up like kind of like, hey, I'm here to just visit and hi, old brother, or what was it like?
The good thing was he didn't recognize me at all, because it was almost 20 years later. He just took me as a beginner and showed me stuff, and like chain punches to the shins, and other cool stuff.
What?
Like chain punching the shins. So,
I mean, I asked second time because I thought I misheard you, and you were saying chain punching to the chin, but no.
Yeah. Wow.
I heard right.
Front kick is thrown at you, and you have to break the attack by chain punching the chin.
Okay, so what did you end up doing? So he was trying to teach you stuff, and what did you end up? Did you end up like showing him that wasn't going to work, or what happened?
At first, I just tried to make his moves work for me. Knowingly, it wouldn't, but it was fun to try.
You indulged him.
At the end, he wanted to show us a lock series consisting of 3 different locks, from stand up to the ground and pull him back, and so you can walk him away. And I just resisted the first one, and he couldn't apply it, so he was a little pissed and said, okay, I'm taking my master student here and show you how it is done. But I never revealed myself. I never came back. But it was fun.
Wow, that's a cool story.
I have 2 questions for you, Tim.
Yeah?
You said that. Did you say that he has 24 dawn rings?
Yeah, right.
So is that in total like all these different styles, or did he claim to be 24th dawn?
No.
Okay. So he didn't do it. Okay. And then the other question did he recognize that you have skill? Or was he not able? Nope. You said you didn't recognize you. Was he able to recognize that you have some skill?
Not at all.
Oh my god.
I didn't even know there were like 4 dance around.
I mean, I've gone to join new schools, and introduce myself, and we start class, and then the teacher takes me aside, and he goes, "Okay, this is how you throw a front kick. Let me see you do it." And I throw the front kick, and he's like, "Oh, where have you trained before?" So without me telling them that I've trained, they just, they're teaching me as if I've never trained. Then I throw a kick with competence. They're like, "Oh, tell me where you've trained before. Tell me about your previous training." But this guy couldn't see that. This guy couldn't see
Nope.
that you have skill.
I acted kind of clumsy on purpose.
Okay.
But
Simple as a sneaky on him.
So were you trying to hide your skill?
a little.
Okay. He still should have been able to tell, don't you think?
To be fair,
Yeah.
it's hard for a white belt to tell what a black belt looks like.
Oh.
Ouch.
That burned.
Yep.
No, but people who have never trained, it's blatantly obvious. That surprises me. I mean, even if someone was faking it, like I had a friend over a couple weeks ago, and I got out the Focus mitts, and I was like, "Hey, show me some punches." And it's just, it's not natural for whatever reason. It kind of surprises me. It's not natural to know how to punch correctly. They either
Right.
do these like flailing arms or flying all over, or their punches like come and they're just so slow and weak. It's not natural. So anytime someone knows how to throw a punch, I know at least they've done it a little bit. Somebody knows how to kick and stay balanced and punch and do different types of punches. They've had a little bit of training.
Well, in my case, I signed up for a Kung Fu Academy, and I went there for like a week. And after a week, the grandmaster, he pulls me aside and says, if I join the private classes for like a few extra money, he'll teach me how to control elemental forces and use them and defeat my opponents without even touching them. So,
So
that
becoming
was
the
like,
avatar.
no,
Sorry.
But did it work though?
I'm sorry, what?
Did it work?
I don't know. I didn't actually go there anymore. I mean, I decided that I can do well for myself without controlling those elements around me.
So you did not become the first airbender.
Sadly, I didn't.
Now that you guys gave your example of a McDojo, I kind of feel bad now for calling that place that I went to a McDojo. It was a Taekwondo school, and the kids were good at doing the exercise and stuff, but then when it came to sparring, like I don't know Taekwondo, I don't do that. But me sparring with them, like it just felt like they were just not doing anything, and they got pushed down really quick and that kind of stuff. Like even the supposedly black belts. So now I'm thinking maybe they were just, it was more of a, what's it called, like tournament based, because I hear some
Yeah, like the school I went to.
aren't as
Point
like
fighting?
heavy on it. Yeah, probably point fighting, and like I've never done point fighting, and I don't see the point in it. I mean, it's cool if you're gonna do it, but just for me, no. I'm like take a hit and give it back, and it didn't seem like they were used to taking a hit or actually trying to hurt the other person.
Okay,
And then
so I have
that's
a
when I thought it was a McDojo, and I said, it's not working out. Sorry.
okay. You just brought up a really good point, I think, and it's a question I've constantly had. So people use the word McDojo. Does that mean that they're focusing more on the art than the martial and actually knowing how to fight, or that the school is just complete garbage. Because I think there are schools where they're just worried about kata, they're not worried about their fighting, they're more focused on the art of that specific art. And in your case, it was Taekwondo. They wanted you to come in and just do some Taekwondo with them, and maybe they were really good at Taekwondo, I don't know. But you were kind of going like, I'm here to fight, and I might take you down, I might grab your legs and drop you and ground and pound you, and that's not what they're about. But does that necessarily make them a McDojo just because they don't convert to actual fighting? Or what are your guys, I hope you know what I mean, but what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah. To me, McDojo is just garbage. A school that's garbage. And I don't think you were here yet when I was talking about that. My first school was a Taekwondo school, and they were completely focused on tournaments. It wasn't for me. I wouldn't call them a McDojo. They did a really good job with tournaments, but that just simply wasn't what I was interested in. And so that was a mismatch. But I would not call them a McDojo, because for what they were doing, Taekwondo tournament fighting, they did a really good job. That's just not what I wanted.
So it doesn't
real fighting.
Okay, yeah, so it doesn't have to apply to actual real fighting. And go ahead, Tapa. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I guess for me, it's a very simple definition. As long as your school isn't, or your dojo isn't over promoting yourself or doing a false advertisement, it's not a McDojo. If you're saying that we're not going to teach you to fight, we're just going to teach you how to do it, you're not going to be able to fight, then it's cool. It's not a McDojo. They're literally claiming to teach you how to dance, and they're doing that. They're delivering. So it's not a McDojo if there's no false advertisement.
I like that. I kind of agree with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I think that may be what defines a McDojo, is something that misrepresents itself. If they show that they can fight and all this stuff, but that's not what they're about, then yeah, you put it well, Tapa.
For the few months that I did Kempo when I left the Taekwondo school, I learned more about real fighting and self-defense in those 5 months doing Kempo than I did for 18 months doing Taekwondo. But that simply was just a different focus of the school. One was focused on tournament fighting, and that's what they did, and they were great, and the other was focused more on real fighting. And so I learned more of what I wanted to learn, I guess that's the way I should put it, in that 5 months than I did in 18 months at the other place.
What about you, Tim? What do you think about all this McDojo? What qualifies it as such? What redeems it?
A lot of stuff was covered yet, and maybe 50 to 60 different belt colors to buy there are a clear sign of McDojo. But the McDojos are not that widespread in Germany. Like it feels, or at least it seems like the US have much more McDojos. We have tons of bad schools, no question at all, but not really schools with overselling stuff and having or wanting vast amounts of money from students for testing and so on.
Yeah.
I think
in my opinion, I used to think a McDojo was a school that didn't prepare you to be martially proficient. Whether or not it made athletes or not, that was irrelevant. But if the athletes couldn't fight, it felt like it was irrelevant. Like, sure, you can win a tournament, but then if like some, chubby karate guy comes in and is pushing all your students around without even hitting them, then maybe, somebody else that's not, fat lazy kid is gonna do a lot more damage. So that to me felt like, at least when I saw that, felt like this is not the right environment. This is kind of a scam. So, but there are like schools, like wrestling schools that don't focus on fighting and it's all sport. But if you fight a wrestler, then you're gonna quickly know that, they're not playing around.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea. Don't fight a wrestler if you don't know wrestling.
So that's what I personally want to feel like. If it's a tournament-based school, cool. Do the dancing and the performance and all that. That's great. But also, when I come in there, make me second guess trying to start some problems. Make me realize, okay, I should be respectful, and just because of the proficiency.
Yeah, if they straight up with, no, we are a school for just sports focus or recreational focus or self-defense, whatever. These schools mostly deliver good stuff. So I think every school is fine if they deliver what they claim to.
And for me, it was, as a new student and wanting to be a new martial artist, I wasn't clear on what I wanted when I joined, and I wasn't clear on, I didn't really know the difference. I thought, fighting was fighting. I didn't know the difference between actual self-defense martial fighting and tournament fighting. I didn't know, so I didn't really do my due diligence. And I think that we're going to be talking about this in future podcasts, aren't we? How to be a good student and then how to find a good school.
We may or we may not. Only one way to find out. Stay tuned for the next episode. And well, thank you guys, Robert, Amy, Tapa, Tim.
Thank you all.
And I guess we'll see each other on the next episode, and have a good one.
Yeah, see you soon.
I think we need to have Snoop Dogg next episode playing at the end of every podcast. Oh, no.